Yes, bro. When you gonna show me how to get this money, man?
I'm still in a rush. I need to meet a client, man. But I've got something for you still.
Yeah, what's this?
It's got everything you need to know, man.
Hey, yo, make sure you log on and go and get the Hustlers Only book as well, man. So you can learn how to get it in like my brother S, you get me? And my brother Malone, you get me? Hey, yo, shout out to the G Grinders. Straight.
Content of everything. Content of everything.
This clothing,
No,
not this. You will not find.
Let's bring it back.
This is what.
Can we
Let
me start back.
Listen, I'm from. Listen, like I said,
Let's start back.
Not this one.
Let's reset the clock. Let's reset the clock.
I know what this is from.
Okay.
I know what this is from.
Samuel,
I said the other guy just has
stand
some.
aside. Okay, wait. Let me, for the purposes of this camera, let me reset the clock here. Are you rolling? Content, you rolling?
Live, man. Live. Let's go.
Okay, let me say this. Peace to all who are gathered here.
Peace unto everyone.
Assalamu alaikum to the Muslims
Alaikum assalam.
and to the people who think they're not Muslims. You're just a Muslim that we haven't converted.
It's only time until you found out. It's only time until they convert you and find. And in Islam, they get something called.
Samuel, let me tee it up. Samuel, let me tee it up. Now, content.
Why don't you talk for your boy? Because you seem to be a little more level-headed.
Let me just tee it up. Let me tee it up. Let me tee up the discussion. What I came and found when I came here was that Brother Samuel was criticizing Brother Zachariah.
He wasn't criticizing. He wasn't criticizing. He was asking a question. Were you?
I was.
Okay.
He was criticizing Brother Zachariah.
No, I thought it wasn't criticizing.
I was.
He was criticizing, third time I've said this, Brother Zachariah on the claims that he was dressed like
his
an
enslaver.
Arab.
Like his enslaver.
Like his enslaver.
Yep.
Wearing a hutra.
Yep.
What color was the towel?
I don't care what it was.
No, you said white. You were talking about white, but that's immaterial.
No. When I said about white, it's explain why the Arabs were wearing white.
But that was tangential.
It was said a
the
hot.
point
Come
is,
on, bro.
he said the brother was wearing the clothes of
an
the Arab,
Yeah.
and therefore the brother had Stockholm
Imitating.
syndrome.
Imitating.
He was
Stockholm
suffering.
syndrome.
To which the brothers. What am I wearing?
Stockholm syndrome.
Brother, we're trying to tee up the discussion first. Can we first?
My friend.
Yeah. Can we?
Can I ask you something?
I want, brother.
Can I ask you something?
Yo,
Do you wear African garments? Yeah, you wear Gucci, but you wear African.
And then back out. I'm trying to introduce and walk out.
Brothers, please. Cuz, move back.
I'm trying to introduce and I'm going to back out. But he's not.
Okay.
Let me finish.
conversation?
All right, introduce the subject. Oh my God.
Yeah, let's forget these man on the side anyway. Brother, let's go back to the conversation.
Listen,
you're criticizing Zachariah. You're criticizing.
No, let him introduce the subject.
Okay, there were 2 points
All right.
on the beginning, okay? My bro, he's my cousin, so he picked up on, I think his name is
Zachariah.
Yeah, the guy called...
The guy that was dressed like an Arab.
Yeah, but the guy was dressed completely like an Arab.
Like a Gulf Arab. Like a peninsula Arab.
You look like he was Muhammad Akbar.
Yes, he was dressed like a peninsula Arab in
it
the
looked
Gulf.
funny to me.
That's true. That is true.
Because I've never seen an Arab dressed like
Fine,
that.
fair enough.
No, leave it. Let's tee up the discussion.
Not Islam. We're not talking about Islam. We're talking about.
No, we haven't
not Islam.
Can we finish introducing the subject?
Yeah, so he was wearing like an Arab, and then Sami went in and he spoke to him and said that, listen, what you dress like an Arab, whereas you're a black brother. That was the point, and he sort of like implied.
Yeah,
you can tell, but he's implied as if he is
pushing an ideology
pushed
that's
by
not
an
his,
ideology
innit?
of an Arab. Okay, so and you, what's your name?
My name is Danjuma.
Janjuma, I like that name, man.
Danjuma said he's in no position. So Danjuma said that Brother Samuel is in no position to criticize Zachariah, having appeared in summertime when the weather is conducive. Instead of dressing like an African, like my brother, young Mandaka,
Can I proceed
he dressed
with
like a
this?
white man.
Like
And I use several terms. I use several terms.
You don't have Mortal Kombat or something.
No, he's talking. That's what
This is what we call in Arabic.
No,
Can I
until he stops talking.
Jahil means ignorant. I know.
Can I address
Sam, you gotta stop.
You gotta have humor.
Sam,
You gotta have
you
humor.
gotta stop. Mandaka, behave yourself. Sam,
You always gotta have humor.
Sam, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. Because we haven't actually introduced the subject yet. So basically, you know, Raven is good. You should have done this. You know,
Is that the one that's seen you 100?
Raven, good to see you. Good to see you, man. I've seen you for a while.
Can we
Come on,
summarize
man.
He's got that.
Can we get to
Hey,
the
I'll tell you
point?
what.
You've got your
This man,
heavyweight.
this man is a
Alright,
good
go ahead,
moderator.
go there, heavyweight.
So Sammy,
He's
so
got your bank of memory.
Raven,
Guys,
I'm
you're
gonna
not
say
going anywhere here.
Raven.
Let me see your credentials, man. What you got, man?
I'm gonna say
We're
two
going
more
everywhere.
words.
One time,
We're
Raven.
going everywhere,
I'm gonna
man.
say two more words and bow out.
Garner, let
What
me
I
go.
said to him is, he's in no
I'm
moral
not in the
position to
government there.
criticize
Garner, let me
a
go.
man dressed like an Arab when he's dressed like a white man. And I said, Oibo, Tubab, Bature, and Zungu.
That's what they call me in Gambia.
You're not gonna
That's
scare
what
me.
they call me the village in Gambia.
But let's make a point.
He said, no, I'm about to land. He then said that this becoming a Muslim is like Stockholm syndrome. It takes away from your Africanity. So I quoted two brothers, not me, I know this. So I quoted two brothers, a brother from northern Nigeria, Hausa man. Right? That brother there from Ghana got upset about it.
Hausa.
So I called, so watch it.
The
I
biggest,
quoted
Arabic
wait.
laboratory test.
Brother, wait, watch it. So wait, watch it. I quoted, so then I called a second witness, brother from Ghana, from Kumasi man from Ghana. Wait. I cited a Ghanaian brother, and from there the conversation went on.
Can I respond?
From there,
Can I
I'm
respond?
gonna bow out. Raven is gonna moderate
I want to ask
this.
you a question though. No.
We haven't started.
Raiden.
Okay, one last
It's actually right now.
Hold
Raiden.
on,
Wow.
hold on.
Is that Raiden? Is it called Raiden?
Stop being naughty. You're being mischievous.
Keep on.
No, because we're missing what I think is a critical aspect of the conversation.
Go on.
What's the brother's name?
Zachariah.
His response was,
Yes.
no, I'm dressed like a Muslim. Yeah,
I was
that's
not-
what he said.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Now, so my question is,
Yes.
is there such thing as Muslim dress?
Thank you.
All right. Now, brother,
I
from
said he
now
draws like
on-
an Arab.
From now
I
on-
said he draws like an Arab. He said I dress like a Muslim.
Yeah, and I
Thank you.
said
He did say
you
that.
were in no position to criticize him dressed like a white man.
I wasn't criticizing. I was
should
giving you an
be
opinion.
criticism.
I wasn't criticizing.
So Raven will now, hence, from here on, he was speaking. He had
You better
the
got your
floor
receipts,
with
man.
this
You got your
brother.
receipts. You better be ready.
No, he's just gonna moderate, bro.
I'm a customer.
Chill out, bro.
Brother Raven,
better be ready. Relax anyway, man.
Raven
It's not a
will
fight, you get me?
moderate this discussion. I'm going to moonwalk out of this, and you are going to get back where y'all were.
That's not African to me.
So when do I come? When do I come?
Go, don't make noise, man. They don't like you.
So is there a question that needs to be asked?
Oh, Charlie.
No. Okay, take up where you left off.
Do the rain dance. Do the rain dance.
So the brother was going
Let's get
all
serious
over the
now.
place, but what he started with was criticising Africans within the African continent and outside of the African continent for saying that in the African continent, when you're Muslim, you adopt Muslim names, you adopt Muslim dress codes to the detriment of your own culture. I.e., you lose your own language, you lose your own customs, and you're no longer able to follow those customs. Now I'm standing here, and obviously Sheikh Danjum is standing here, right? And there's another African brother as well standing here saying we are all Africans and we're Muslim at the same time, right? We have not abandoned our cultures. Yet we may have abandoned certain aspects of our culture, right? But those are aspects of our culture which they are aspects of our culture which myself, I deem to be false doctrine, such as, right, the pantheon, what I would describe as the pantheon of gods within the Akan spiritual system, which starts off with Nyankupon as the sky god, Asasiya as the earth, right, and then the Busum, the spirits in between, being suns and whatever, right. And my brother Shakira here, he will say these are all like they're allegorical and they're not literal. But for me, being raised as a kid, under that culture, I don't see it like that. So certain things I've dropped out.
So clarify. I would say that they're more than allegorical, but they are allegorical. But we'll come back to that. But yeah,
Right, cool. So what I'm saying is, I've abandoned certain things like libations and pouring out drink for the dead because I don't believe in it. Not because Islam doesn't allow me to have that culture. Right. He's talking about people wearing white clothes in Africa, and I'm telling him, he obviously has not frequented West Africa at least, yeah.
Bro,
because in
no,
West Africa,
statement,
in fact, West African Muslims, I would go as far to say, yeah, West African Muslims
You
are
got to
the
know, man, the
most.
Codex. My brother like the Torah.
If you're not listening, you're here. Gambian, I see. Gambians were full white.
But that's not what I said.
All right, Muslim and they Christian. Gambia, I was there.
Saudi Arabia, so they can do it.
Yeah, for the Sahara.
Originally,
To go with how they live.
So first off, that's not true anyway, because you have the descriptions of the people of Arabia and what they wore, right? And it's not this white Zoroastrian Persian code that you see people. That is something that they have actually adopted from somebody else's culture.
Yeah.
So before you start to talk about Arab culture, you have to actually think and go back and check your sources, right? Arab clothing back in that day was more the same. It's the turbans that you see the Maroons and the Moors wearing. Those big battle helmets with the scarves that are wrapped around. That is traditional Arab clothing, and that's not what you see in at least West Africa, where I come from, right? You see garments like what the Sheikh Danjuma's, which is an African garment.
Yeah.
There's nothing Arab about it.
100%.
This is the predominant. Now,
And
also his footwear.
I'm not Muslim though, so I don't have to say a
What you
bit.
got to show
So my point was the brother was saying he's part Arab, so that entitles him, to know more about Arabs. Well, I'm fully West African, so I can tell you about the dynamic that's happening at least in Ghana and the other two countries that are stretching Benin and Togo, right? Because our cultures are quite similar. So him saying, that Islam somehow does away with your culture is not correct in the manner that he's talking about. Are some people lost? Do some people get lost in the source of the Arab vibe? Yeah, they do.
Okay.
But you cannot say that is Islam.
So you guys might be on the same page. He said something, but you
I
guys
never said he was Islam.
One time, bro. You said Arab. This guy's got a question now.
I said people.
Now, do you want to respond to the stuff he said?
No, I want to respond.
Go ahead. He's just finished. Hold on. Bro, you can jump in. Let him come in. Just let
He's moderating. Bro, it's hypersensitivity.
What do you mean relax?
It's okay.
That's a foul.
Listen, let me make a point on camera, yeah? When the brother asked me my name, yeah? And if anyone knows, if anyone's watched any videos, I've told man what my name is. But I give him man the alias. So he's saying, why have you got the alias? And I've already explained the alias is because people know me, right? In my house, no one calls me Isa. Yeah? My name is Nana or Kweku. Or Bwamponsem, in fact. That's what my uncles and that call me. So I'm giving you the
want
alias.
you to finish because you got interesting things to say.
I'm just saying.
You got valid reasons.
All I'm saying is, you can definitely.
bro?
I'm just saying.
I want you to finish, bro.
Cool. Now I'm done. I'm just saying, if the sentiment was, that Islam, somehow brainwashes you in order to abandon your culture and hang on to Arab culture, that's incorrect.
Okay.
That was my.
Can I respond?
Go ahead, bro.
Okay. First of all, I never actually put any blame on Islam, because if you look at Islam and if you look at the teachings of Islam, because my mother follows Islam, right? It's actually good stuff. Seriously. My mom, a doctor told her that she had a stone in her breast and she had to have an operation. After that, she took on to the Quran, kept on reading it every day and like meditating, whatnot, and all that good stuff, And they actually couldn't find even the stone to operate on it. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a miracle. Call it whatever you want to call it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is it from the Quran? I don't know. What I'm trying to say is, we always talk about balance and equality. Am I right? Is balance and equality important?
Of course it is.
It is, my bro. It is. Thank you. Thank you, my bro. I love you for saying that. So, do you think life is all about the balance of good and bad, and that, and this side, and black and white? Hold on, I'm not finished.
No,
is it the balance?
I was going to say,
Let me finish that, my bro. Is it? Is it?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Can I?
Okay.
What's the balance?
Listen,
What's the
I
balance?
was going to say, 1 second. You used the word
Let me finish then.
equality.
Let me finish then.
I don't use the word equality.
Let me finish then.
I use the word equity.
Equity is
Equity is the one I'm talking about.
No, equity is going to someone else. Equity, we're not going into equity. We're talking about balance.
Balance is equity.
Yin and yang. Balance.
Yeah, that's balance.
What makes life.
Yeah, I believe in balance. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. So, I'm asking for balance. Am I wrong for asking that? When I see my brothers changing their ancestral names, forsaking their ancestral names, and choosing Arabic names, and choosing English names, when they were actually the cradle of humanity. That's where humanity started, that's where religion started. If you go back to Ethiopia, my man, 6,000 years, and Adam and Eve is only what? How many years? I'm talking about, do you understand what I'm saying? So, I'm talking about their own religion, their own thingy is in Africa. You talk about the pharaohs in Africa, so much history and so much wealth. Let me finish though. Let me finish though. Let me finish though. Let me finish though.
Don't get thrown off. I'm saying,
listen, let me finish though, guys. Everyone has a chance to speak.
I'm saying, listen, you're not listening to me. I'm saying, don't get distracted.
Don't distracted.
Continue. That's what I'm saying.
But no one is telling you to change your name. Islam is not telling you to change your name.
I'm trying to tell him, don't get distracted. That's all I'm saying.
I love black people, you know, I swear. Black people are the most beautiful people on the planet. But I swear, continue, go on. I love black people.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Continue on.
Go ahead, bro.
Right. When I see my brothers, right, forsaking their ancestral names, right, and then embracing Arabic names, yeah, and English names, yeah, and if we go back into history, these people are not embracing Thailand names. They're not embracing what's that other place? Switzerland names. They're actually embracing of the exact people that practiced all the best slavery.
That's
all
individual.
Let me finish.
Individual.
Thank you. Let me finish, yeah? All I'm saying is, it's a very, 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 very simple question.
Go ahead.
Yeah? Listen, I love everyone here. Arab, black, Muslim, whatever. But does that mean me here, when his religion and his prophet, which is the Prophet Muhammad, his first migration, guys, anyone Muslim here can correct me if I'm wrong.
Abyssinia.
Where was the first migration?
Abyssinia.
And in Abyssinia, did they have Islam?
No.
And in Abyssinia, did Prophet Muhammad tell the people that you will be treated just there,
yes.
and they will protect you, and they will look after you?
Yes.
Why is it? Isn't it because he believed in somewhere where they don't practice Islam, they're still God-fearing, and they probably don't need Islam? Thank you. So, this is what I'm trying to come into right now. What I'm trying to come into right now, beautiful, is that, why is it that when I go back into history, I can find places and nations and countries that were God-fearing, and they were even looking after the Muslim people that were running from Muslim lands, right? Hold on. But automatically now, these people have to follow Islam.
Yes.
How?
Because
Before Islam, these people were God-fearing.
way of life.
They took care of the Prophet's people.
They had a good way of life, but Islam gave them a better way of life.
To who? To who?
We moved on.
Okay. It's contradictory. Let me finish. It's contradictory. It's contradictory.
Let's stick to it.
Can I just say something?
Family, but you want to shift the topic.
Can I just say something? Very quickly, yeah. I just want to bear witness to the fact here that what the brother said at the beginning, in terms of what he actually said, he's telling the truth. I didn't hear him mention Islam at all. Yeah, and I was here from the beginning. Yeah, he said Arab, and I was here from the beginning of the conversation.
My mom's a Muslim.
I just wanted to bear witness to what he said.
It's done a full circle though, innit?
No, I hear you.
Come to Christianity and
I
Islam,
hear
so
you.
it's all linked. People might try and divorce these things.
No, I hear you.
But remember, these names are.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, because I'm not going to divorce it beyond what the brother who he was speaking about divorced it, if that makes sense. Like I said, the brother's response was, no, I'm not just like an Arab, I'm just like a Muslim. So obviously he's identifying his style of dress with his faith. Uncle Jan Juma,
That's the point.
I watched you last week. Yeah, and much of what the brother is saying, you were saying last week.
Okay, I'm in this now.
Right?
Let me come in this.
Right? No, and I'm not. So I'm in the middle. I'm not. With Richard Doggle, yeah. So I'm not necessarily sanctioning everything the brother said, yeah. But I'm saying that what I'm hearing him say there are similar things that I've heard you say in terms of
I've never been here.
Your
I know
brothers
he's
and
talking the real.
Your brothers
I
and
know
sisters
you
in
would say
faith.
that.
To
right?
which I reply.
Yes.
To which I reply with a lot of peace, love, and respect to you, my young brother.
Yes, sir.
You come up in a wonderful tradition. I know your father.
Yes, sir.
He's a man of substance
Respect,
and a man of learning.
Yes,
Tendamari.
sir. Tenawari, sir. Tenawari.
What I do believe, Tendamari is like Assalamu alaikum, if anybody want to know. Mware is God in Shona, ne?
Yes.
Right, okay. If I'm speaking. Now, what I'm trying to do here is say that with the greatest of respect to Brother Samuel, my simple point, my substantive point is he does not have the right to criticize that brother for looking like a peninsula Arab because he's looking like a white man. That was my
I accept that. I accept that.
I accept
that. I accept it. I accept it.
I like intellectual. I like intellectual honesty.
We have free speech.
I respect intellectual honesty. Even though I know your mission was like hell. You're very naughty.
No, we're free speech. That's what we do.
I like
sharing.
any conversation which is devoid of intellectual honesty. I back out.
I'm learning from you today. That's all it is.
Could you please calm down? Behave yourself. Now, I do believe this. I do believe this.
Whatever you say.
We have, Africa is not a monolith.
Yes, sir.
I've always said this. You have different ways of being African. History is not always reversible or susceptible to being put into a template that we want it to be. We can't imagine Africa from our lofty apartments in London and want Africa to be like that. We have to sometimes say, look, like Ali Mazrui said, and John Henry Clark chewed a piece of him off. When Ali Mazrui said, there's a triple heritage in Africa. Whether you like it or not, there are Muslims in Africa. You ain't gonna get rid of Islam in Africa. There are Christian. Can you please? There are. No, don't. You see, no,
Let's talk, Uncle. Let's talk.
there are Muslims in Africa.
Africa will always be backwards and be the poorest continent as long as there's
Let Uncle talk.
Let me and then jump. That's the
Listen,
we do discipline. Listen, if you start saying words, we lose the discipline, right? What do you think you're doing? We're having a discussion, you bring people in, right?
All right, we're not a fair crowd. What I'm trying to say is this, right? There are two opposing schools here that I'm trying to think about. Professor John Henry Clark, much respect to John Henry Clark, but I'm also saying much respect to Professor Ali Mazrui, who lived in Africa nearly all of his life and traveled around Africa in a way that perhaps Professor John Henry Clark did not. And he said, look, there's a triple heritage in Africa. You won't get rid of Christianity. And Ali Mazrui comes from the position of Islam. He's a Muslim. But he's saying that. He went to Ethiopia, he showed the temple, the churches of Lalibela, he showed all these things. He said, this is as, how are you going to say the temples of Lalibela are not African?
That's African Christianity.
Whether Christianity came from the Byzantines or not, the fact is Christianity. Could you please calm down? Could you please calm down? Yeah. You cannot. But you're actually agreeing with me. Now, what I'm trying to say is this: Christianity in Africa, in that respect, is indigenous. You cannot say it is not indigenous. Could you please stop it? Could you please stop it, sir? We're trying to learn at least one. I like when I finish speaking, people have come over with one fact. That's all I want. No. What I'm trying to say is this. I want our people to understand Africa the way it is. I work with Africa. I've lived in 17 African countries. I want to work with the continent the way it is. I cannot tell Christians in Africa, as much as I'm a Muslim, not to be Christian. What I can tell them is do not let their Christianity detract from their Africanity. And I'm saying the same message right here, right now to Muslims. Do not allow, as Malcolm X said, any religion you adopt to work against you. If you do that, that religion is not for you. That's my point. I am saying this about Islam.
Go back to your ancestral roots.
Ancestral roots in Africa are many. Now, here's what I'm trying to talk about. I will come straight to that point. I know people don't like it. You missed it last week.
I was vexed. I saw the conversation.
You should. Okay, let's do it. Behave yourself.
And I was vexed.
Let's do this head on.
Yes, sir.
Here's what there was a tall Sudanese brother. There was a brother There was a brother from South Sudan last week.
Yeah.
South Sudan suffered terribly
Yes.
in the 19th century
Because of
from
religion.
enslavement by Muslims.
From Muslim Arabs.
The
in
Jalaba.
Sudan. From the Muslim Arabs in Sudan. Let's say that. From the Muslim Arabs in Sudan. Let's say that. Be honest.
Why are you saying the same thing I'm saying by interrupting me?
Respect. Sorry. Sorry.
I know my subject.
Sorry, my
sir.
bro.
Now,
Sorry.
this brother and I were speaking, and I said to him, I understand if they want nothing to do with Islam, given the way Muslims have treated them. Now, I know we have a couple Northern Sudanese here who will be upset by this. But I like my people, but I like truth more. I'm very sorry. I like my people, but I like truth more.
Same
and I
here,
have
bro.
to say truth.
Same here, bro.
What was done
Same here, bro.
was a very bad history and a shameful report
Ethnic
on
cleansing.
my religion
Ethnic
in
cleansing.
South Sudan. All right.
Cleansing.
However, you cannot say that about Islam in Senegal. Sheikh Anta Diop himself says so. And you can't argue with Sheikh Anta Diop. He said it himself. So Africa is not a monolith. In parts of Africa where Islam introduced literacy, people became educated, they became in contact with the wider world, empires were formed, the civilization developed, and you had a lot of creativity in ancient Mali, you had a lot of creativity in Songhai, you had a lot of creativity in Kanem-Borno. So I've given you the light and the shade. These are the... Now, what I want to focus on is the good that Islam can bring to Africa.
Why not
So,
on the bad?
brother, I know, that's exactly. I don't want that bad in Africa.
I can focus,
don't
I
want
can
let me-
focus on the
no,
good things
wait.
of a criminal.
No, you're not listening to me.
Of a
I
murderer.
am
He's
saying,
got- a murderer has
I am
got good
saying
things.
that historically, there has been wrong done to people in Africa in the name of Islam.
Till today.
And there has been wrong done to Africa
In
the
Yemen, what's
name-
happening in Yemen?
In the name
In Yemen. By Muslims.
Africa.
By Muslims.
Africa.
Wow, Muslims countries. What are Muslims doing in Yemen?
Yemen's not in Africa.
It comes full
Yeah.
circle.
No,
Yeah.
no, what
I'm
I'm
saying,
saying,
yeah,
what
Muslims
I'm
do-
trying to
and the
say,
thing is,
the point I'm
Muslims
trying to
do
make is
Muslims.
this.
Yeah.
The tall Sudanese brother, guys, the tall Sudanese brother said this. He made a point and I had to think about it. He said, brother, countryman, he said this. Our religions in Africa were religions that were so
Spiritual.
tied up,
In the life of
integral
the people,
to the
yeah.
life of the people,
It's
that
spiritual,
they
yeah.
seemed,
Spiritual, bro, it's
they were
spiritual.
like a local currency rather than a hard currency. So they were not, it seemed, exportable. Whereas the Abrahamic faiths had the tradition of making themselves exportable
Because of
by
poverty,
conversion.
because of poverty.
By
They wanted to use that
conversion.
to rob
right?
people.
So you keep
Pillage.
interrupting. So the problem with African religions is this. Whereas take Buddhism, take some other religion from the Far East. These people managed to bring Buddhism to Europe. They managed to bring Buddhism to America.
But it's not Buddhist.
Can you please calm down?
But you've been talking a lot.
No,
I like you,
want-
but give him a chance.
You have to. Let
Give
me
somebody
land.
else a chance. You've been talking. I love you. I love you. When you in order, that's what I'm trying to put order.
This man should-
I'm trying to put
No,
order.
he's
I love you.
That's
You're
his
my
job.
brother.
That's his job. That's his job.
I love him. You know me and him tight.
That's his job.
Let's finish. We have a moderator.
Yeah. No. What I'm trying to say is this: Brother Raven, the difference in the. I'm gonna wrap it up. The difference in these faiths is that these faiths were written down. That's where we fell hard. Buddhism has a text, a scripture. Hinduism has the Upanishads, has Vedas, has the Ramayana, has all these books, right? So when Muslims went there, they got stopped because that religion, even though it was like Ifa, Yoruba religion, it had a way, it had a counter argument that was written down. I want to leave you all with this important fact. I couldn't let him interrupt before I make this fact. So when Buddhism and Hinduism were exported to the West, we were unable to do that with our African religions except one, perhaps maybe Vodou, but mostly Iwapele, the Yoruba religion. That had, even though it was not written down, the Yoruba were a people of urban cities dwelling, people who understood. I'm almost done. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, let me wrap this up. African religions did not have the quality of hard currency, except perhaps for the Yoruba religion. as did Hinduism and Buddhism, similar in cosmology to African religions, but were written down and structured over centuries in a manner that they could be exported to the West. We never had that, so we were always on the defensive. Okay, I'm going to stop.
Do you know his religion that caused Africa to be so poor?
Oh my God!
Yes.
Oh my God!
Yes, of course. Okay.
Yeah?
I'm gonna stop. Wait, pause for the cause.
Christian
Wait,
Crusaders.
pause for the cause. Stop. Pause for the cause. Do you know who
You
this
don't
man
know this
is?
guy. No, you don't know who this man is.
I gotta tell you,
This man has
I'm
been
sorry.
coming here for,
Raven,
I've known
I'm
this man for
sorry.
about 30 years.
This is what I.
One of
I
the
saw-
old men. I
saw-
saw you gone. This is the man.
I went to Chief David's house.
Yeah, yeah.
Chief David is around. This brother was one of the doyens of this park.
He was this guy.
There was nothing you would learn if this guy didn't turn up. This is Haroon. This is the man. He's the Saudi killer. This is a Saudi killer. He's a lovely Muslim brother from religious. He's a Saudi killer.
You're gonna
He's a
run over your brothers and sisters from
Okay,
the
no, I just want
offended
people
a lot
to
of people right now, because I know.
know we're in the presence of greatness, and respect must be paid. Brother Haroon, we're in the middle of something here. Can we talk on the side? Let's talk on the side. Because I want my brother to have it. I wanted just to let people know what this is. Okay, yeah.
You're right.
Right. So let's establish my man is coming from an anti-Abrahamic standpoint. And
Raven, bring the man back. Shall I go?
I
Let me go
wasn't
talk.
given a chance to respond.
No more politics.
No. Raven, this man wants to
I wasn't
respond.
given a chance to respond.
You want to respond?
Brother, the mic is free. The mic is free.
the Arabian clothing thing was
Am I on the mic? Mic check, mic check.
Go through
Am I on
what
the
he
mic?
said.
All over the place.
Fifth time.
All over the place. Not noise, but he's going all over the
Go
place.
through.
All right, don't get emotional. Calm down.
Nah, she's not. She's
Are we ready?
Islam and Christianity in Africa.
Okay, guys, please, let's all make sure that we never get emotional. This is speech. It's for the betterment of our...
Make it point.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah.
Let somebody
So,
oppose it.
right, can I talk now?
You can.
Are you on? Basically, my issue is with seeing black brothers, yeah, people that have just come out from Africa, Zimbabwe, Gambia, Senegal,
Cameroon.
proper African places. A place where you actually haven't even got the chance. These are places where you go, like
other places, not Africa.
developing countries. They haven't even got the access to education or information to be as informed as the people here in the Western world.
In certain points, yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Depends
So,
on
so,
the
so, so,
context
so,
as well.
when we look into different cultures, when we look into different places, if we go to the Western world and we go into African places, and who's more informed? Is it the Western world or the Africans? Honestly,
Depends on context,
be
brother.
realistic, bro.
It depends
Who's
on
more
context.
informed?
About what context?
About what?
Who's more informed?
About what?
About anything.
About
Who's more
what?
informed about any blood clot thing?
That's not
Is
a
it
question.
Africans?
That's
Don't
a-
ask and answer the
a
question.
nonsensical
A
question.
nonsensical- yeah.
What are
Okay.
you talking about?
About what?
Informed
About what?
Let's say for
More important
as
about
an
what?
example, something. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As something
Good,
as
you're
simple
right.
as nutrition. Nutrition.
Nah, brother.
You guys are fine.
Who's more informed as nutrition? I'm just saying. On nutrition.
Probably, yeah.
On nutrition.
It depends.
Depends, it
It
does
depends
depend.
on what you're talking about. It depends on what you're talking
It's all
about.
good though. You're saying Africa's more informed. You say Africa's more informed.
You're
Brilliant. I
telling
like that. I
someone
like that. Okay, hold on. I like
You
that.
made them all live, haven't you?
I like that. I like that. So when it comes to information and knowledge, who's more informed? Africa or the Western
It
world?
depends. It's not a question you can answer. Like,
Wait, but as if the Western world is devoid from Africans anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of
That's
the
what I'm
information in the Western world
It-
comes by way of
It doesn't
so-called
mean-
ethnic minorities
Yeah,
and African people.
Technology.
So there's a balance. There's a balance. Fantastic. You know what? All I ask for is balance anyways. Fantastic. That's why I ask for balance. Okay. So what I'm saying, this is where the balance comes in. This is where the balance comes in. Calm down.
Where do you find the lack of balance? Because your balance is your issue.
Can I talk? Calm down, guys.
Brother, you're going to have to make a point, bro.
I know where everyone's like babbling. But look, can I talk?
Well, you can, but try to make a point just fast.
All right, okay,
Have a
okay.
conversation.
As you guys know, what brought me here is me contradict. No, it is. I'm gonna explain it to you. I was me contradicting the way that black guy was working what he was dressed, right? So the main question was, right? Why is it that black Africans feel the need to Arabize themselves, be it in the way they dress or be it how they name themselves, but you'll never ever find that balance when you go into Arabic people. You'll never ever see Arabic people wearing African clothing. You'll never ever see Arabic people naming. Hold on, let me finish, guys. I beg you. You'll never ever find Arabic people naming their children African names. Why is it? Isn't there a balance? Where is the balance? That's what I'm asking
Is
for.
that a question? No, the brother's asked a question. He said, let's make
So let me ask him the question back. Let me go reverse psychology on him. Why do you dress like this?
Like what?
The way you dress.
Okay, let me.
You dress like a white man. If we have to go back into it.
Am I going to answer?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, cool. I was raised here in the UK, right? I was raised, for example, in the Middle East, right? Where I was raised, this is how people dress.
Is it?
Now, hold on, let me finish, guys. You asked me a question. Now, I'm saying, I'll take you to the deeper rules of Africa, into a jungle where people have not seen the way I dress or another white man dress. Yeah, he just came out of his hut and his mum will call him Jefferson. That's what I've got an issue with. His mom will call him Rupert or Isa or Muhammad. I will. Because listen, bro. Like, I don't want to get personal. No, I don't want to get personal.
My brother, I just got back from Gambia, and I went to a village. The little kids are like this, and they had English names.
Okay, let me finish then. Let me finish then, bro. You don't look like an Arab, right? Are you an Arab? But you just gave me an Arabic name. You said your name was Isa.
I gave you an Arabic A-list. And no, in fact,
Isa.
No, in fact, stop. Isa is not even an Arabic name in the first place,
Isa.
which I have explained.
It's a translation of
Isa.
Jesus.
It's
a translation of Jesus.
It's an Arabicized.
Why did you say your name was Jesus?
It's an Arabicized. Jesus is Greek.
Huh?
Jesus is Greek.
Why did you tell me an Arabic name in Arabic? You're not an Arab.
Jesus is not his name.
If you ask me for my name, I'm going to tell you my name in my language. Why do you say?
Are you going to let me answer? Or are you going to talk over?
Go on, then.
Right. So my book that I follow is the Quran. I took the name
Quran
Isa.
is Arabic. Okay.
I took the name Isa out of emulation of a prophet that I loved. Not because he was Arabic, not because he was Jewish, not because he was from the east or the west or he had long hair. I chose it because I love his character. Right. And out of emulation of him, I chose that name. Got nothing to do with languages, cuz.
Did I say it was about language?
Okay,
I'm talking about emulating.
You're talking about Arabic names.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Was Jesus an Arab?
No, I'm saying, what's the need, right? What's the need? I'm talking about balance here, yeah? If there's enough numbers of Africans calling themselves Arabic names, why is there enough numbers of Arab people calling themselves African names? It's all about balance.
First off.
Where's the balance?
First
No,
off.
but you got to rationalise why it's bad for them to adopt an Arabic name.
I didn't say it's bad. I said balance. Where's the balance?
No, but you need to rationalise.
Let me give you a reason.
There is an
Where's the
answer.
balance?
No, there is an answer, and the answer is a valid one, right? That if you keep the African name, okay, you protect your lineage,
Your ancestry.
your ancestry.
Just like the Arabs. Just like the English.
Which is important.
Very
in Islam.
important.
In Islam,
Thank you.
the lineage was very important.
Thank you.
have not-
Respect.
It
I
was very
respect that.
important,
Thank you.
right?
We have not-
Because the Arabs.
Why is it
protected
Africans
their
don't
lineage.
feel that?
Bro, what I'm
They
saying is,
protected their
Yeah,
lineage.
Africa,
to
we are
know
not.
where they're going back. So
Yeah, but Africans steer away from that and then call themselves
he
Arabism.
could argue that
You can't argue it.
No,
Hold
no,
on.
no. What I'm saying, he could argue that keeping your African name
Thank you.
protects your lineage,
He
which
can-
is also
Done,
held in
bro,
high
done,
esteem
bro,
in
done,
Islam.
Bro,
Done,
he
done,
can,
done. That's what I'm trying to say.
he cannot argue that. One, because
That's
it's
my argument,
erroneous.
bro. That's my argument.
If you go to Nigeria, right, whilst you might find someone called Ahmed, right, you're still gonna have if he's Igbo with an Igbo family name. He hasn't abandoned the African name in totality.
100.
So if you find, for example, Mustafa Chineke, if that was a name, right? The Chinekes, you can trace them back, regardless of the fact that his name is Mustafa, which is not. So that point is incorrect. Like I'm saying, I can go back to my tribe, right? And I can go to the historians, the bookkeepers, and they can trace my lineage back and back and back generations. Don't let no one ever tell you Africans don't have ancestry. That's a lie. That is a lie. Africans cling to their ancestry the same fashion, that Arabs do. They just might be more boastful of it in the Arabian.
Yeah, but you're third generation now. What about future generations?
Guys, can I say something?
No, my parents.
This brother said that.
Your parents come in?
My parents are
This brother wants to say something.
So I just want to say, earlier on, you wanted me to respond. I couldn't respond. But the main thing, the point is he's raising is that, like, we can say, we're not from West Africa, we're from East Africa. Right? So we know more the culture of East Africans, all right? So the way we see East East African. Back in the day, like you can go start from Egypt to Sudan, all the way down to Somalia. They were not speaking that Arabic language. They didn't have an Arabic name. They didn't have an Arabic culture.
And that's where the first migration was from
so,
Prophet Muhammad.
So,
what did they have? They had an Amharic, right?
Old Christian,
I'm just saying. Like, so they have a completely thing. Even from Egypt, they're not Arabs. Like, they understand something. So what happened over time is that changed. How it's changed is that their language was being taken away. Then their culture is being taken away. It's being replaced from the Arab countries. Even their food started getting replaced as well. Do you understand? You can see it on northern Sudan, that influence, whereas where it's not really the Arabs didn't influence the southern Sudan, complete different culture, tradition, everything. Do you understand? In West Africa, I don't know, I've never been anything. So that brings an issue. Not regardless the fact that Muslim is a wrong religion or right religion. It got nothing to do with that. Do you understand? It's the fact that, like, you know, people lost their identity.
Thank you.
That's the point that he's trying to. Do you understand? In East Africa.
Yeah. And I'm saying to you, in East Africa, there are Muslims and Christians who still claim they have their culture. They don't feel that they've lost their identity. When you look at Ethiopian Christianity, it's quite different from Christianity all over the world. They have their own indigenous form of Christianity.
Yeah, can I say
right? Same as you have the indigenous practices of Islam in the Sudan, in Somalia, in Ethiopia, in Eritrea. In these countries, let me just finish. In these countries, you still have people with their Eritrean names, with their Ethiopian names, still speaking Amharic, still speaking Tigray, still speaking the old languages which are not Arabic.
I can speak about this.
Kenya. But even Kenya as well. Kenya's Swahili. No, they haven't lost it because they haven't. The Messiah have not lost their culture.
Listen, can I make a point? I can speak about East Africa. I can't speak about
I'm giving you points about East Africa, and I'm asking you to say yay or nay.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm
wrong, yeah. So there's not Somalis.
It's not black and white. Let me get.
So Somali culture has been diluted.
Listen. It's not, situations are not black and white.
So then that's what.
No. You understand what I'm saying? But where it's going is predominantly it's changing. Where it's going, the direction where it's facing, it's not to where they keep their culture and their tradition. It's the point where they're losing their tradition and culture. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And I would ask
for
you to
example,
demonstrate where.
even in Ethiopia, there's Ethiopia, people, some of the countries towards the southeast countries, they want to speak Arabic now. They want to bring a Sharia law. Do you know what I'm saying? It's got nothing to do with being Sharia law, with wrong or right. Don't get me wrong with that. Do you understand something? But if you see, this is very fascinating, okay? If you see, for example, the Somalian in the 1910 and 1920, the way they dress, versus, even though they were at that time predominantly Muslims, versus now, if you see it now today, it's a complete different. It's completely Arabized.
Explain.
Arabized. So for example, Somalians, Somalian Muslims, they're Muslims, okay, they're Muslims, but for example, the way they dress was completely different. For example, a woman would dress half this way,
Somali people are some of the most anti-Arab people I know.
No, yeah.
Even in terms of their culture.
You're missing the point.
Somalis in the Arab League.
No.
Somalis in the Arab League.
It's a Sharia law.
Somalis in the Arab League.
Here's the problem with the
Somalis in the Arab League.
Shaka, my problem is there's a lot of claims here, and there's no substantiation in the claim.
This is the problem with the conversation here. We're trying to find absolutes in a dynamic where there's no absolute.
There's no absolute.
There are things that you're saying that are correct. There are things that he's saying that are correct. So I'm saying here, like, so if we look at West Africa, Uncle Danjuma, I'm going to slightly disagree with him, but he's correct in a sense, in the sense of the way Islam comes to West Africa, there are differences in terms of how it comes to East Africa, 100%. At the same time, if we're talking about Islam in West Africa, we have to factor in Islam in North Africa first, which has a similar history to East Africa. You know what I'm saying? There are examples of exactly what you're talking about. There are people who have accepted Islam and they've kind of synchronized it with their culture so much that it's almost indistinguishable. Yeah? Right?
What is the issue?
That's a fact.
With
No,
Islam?
hear what I'm saying.
We're talking about Arab culture, we're talking about Islam.
Yeah, hear what I'm saying. No,
Right.
because
So
but there are also other examples.
when you make them synonymous.
Yeah,
if you're saying Arabicization,
To be
it's
fair, bro.
Islamization.
Yeah, but to be fair, bro.
Can I say this? It starts with the writing.
One second. To be fair, like I said, in the conversation that we was having before you come, the brother identified his style as dress with his faith,
Yeah,
not
okay,
a culture.
cool.
This is what I'm saying. So
Alright.
I'm saying, I'm
then let's
not denying.
let's address it via that then.
Yeah, but
Could it not
saying
be the
is-
same? What could it not be both?
Well, you have to tell me, bro. I'm saying that if we're making this, because people are making a distinction between the culture on the one hand and the religion on the other, and then at the same time there are people that are associating the religion with the culture, as synonymous with the culture. So I'm saying that
if I say, for example, Arabic,
No,
Islam, come to Africa, okay?
That's all you listen to, music.
It's translated on the native language. You understand what I'm saying to you? Like, and as if everybody depends on their own language rather than referring to the Arabic language.
So your issue is that when Islam comes into a country, it keeps the Arabic, which is the original message, rather than adapting into people's languages and then using
not only adapting, it's taking away what they've got as well. Do you understand?
By
there
what?
are examples of both.
By
you know
what?
what I'm saying?
No,
So there are examples of both.
To the way you eat, it goes to the way you dress.
Because we're conflating a lot of things.
Yeah, okay.
Islam, Arabicization, right? And Muslims, right? They're three different things. You can't conflate. You can't. I don't care if you say people came and stole the language.
Yeah.
Say that. Don't tell me Islam came and stole your language away.
This is the problem.
I'm not.
This is the problem. This is why I appreciate Uncle Dajima sometimes here, because he's fair in certain aspects here. Because I don't know if you could tell people that all the time if Islam comes to them by way of invasion with Arabs. They're not necessarily gonna like, and I don't think that most Muslims do that when they're discussing European colonization in Africa. They don't make the distinction between Christianity on the one hand.
Listen, you will never hear me saying,
no, not you. But bro, we had a whole situation recently, where certain man went to Ghana and was doing some preaching, and you heard the messages.
Listen, was I happy about it?
No, I'm not saying you were. I'm not saying you were, but I'm saying I'm not saying you sanctioned it. You know, I'm saying that you heard the line of reasoning that the European came here and brought you Christianity. Yeah, a guy was here just a minute ago saying the same thing about Crusades. Yeah, what's it called? And so my point is that people don't always separate European culture on the one hand, as far as colonization in Africa, from Christianity. Right. They don't always do that.
And I'm saying it's not just to do that.
Yeah.
It's not just to take a whole ideology, right? And then take a people who profess that ideology and make them synonymous.
Yeah.
It's not just. And I would never do it, so I don't expect people to do it.
I would agree with you.
Otherwise, I'm not out here going to say all Hindus are racist.
Bro, we had a conversation some months ago, and a white guy asked you, about, because a white Muslim was asking a question about black Muslims who convert to Islam or revert to Islam out of respect, right? What's it called? And take on Arabic names. He doesn't find the same trend to the same extent among white people that take on the religion. So I'm saying that, and we had a conversation, and it was recognized that this is a dynamic. This dynamic happens. I've seen it. I've got many friends.
I should say that post that conversation, I actually did speak to people, and it's not so true that white reverts don't take on Arabic names.
No, we identified that because there were some white reverts that in the part that did it, but I think it was on a scale. So there was a scale to which it happened, and it was identified that it seems to happen more among Africans.
Well, that might be bearing in mind that the numbers of converts to Islam, that are predominantly come from an Afro-Caribbean background, not a white one, a Caucasian.
Over here, so it could be just the numbers. Right. But man's prepared to accept that to some degree,
That's neither here nor there, though. Anyway, I'm just saying, look. Islam in and of itself, and this is what I would argue, someone might argue something different, but in and of itself, its rhetoric is not one of taking away, it is one of addition. Islam is supposed to, in theory, come, see what you're working with, shake things up and make it better. And
let's address that for a second, because it was said here in terms of Islam bringing literature.
I didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with that, but I let that one go.
This is the point, because I know many Muslims that don't agree with that, but it is a common theme or ideology among historians and among Muslim historians in particular.
Really? So I would say it's amongst non-Arab historians. I mean, non-African historians. Africans already had literacy.
I've been in many. The place that I heard this first and most predominantly is among Muslim historians. Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so people like Ibn
Khaldun and them people there.
Yeah, no, but more I was Sheikh Hakim Quick. Yeah. And people like that, right? And others are in that school of Muslim, but they're not necessarily Muslim historians, but they're Muslims who are historians, right? And they, you know what I'm saying, them kind of things there. I've heard this very very well, to the point whereby West African civilizations, that were predominantly Muslim, are considered Muslim civilizations and not African civilization.
Right.
So Songhai
100%.
and Mali, the architecture, the writing, the intellectual, whatever.
You're preaching to the choir. I already feel you, and that is for me. Yeah, that is an attempt. Yeah, of some people who don't have anything to cling on, right? And trying to get some sort of what we call it Riza. They're trying to say, this belongs to us. Nah, listen. Those places, Songhai and Mali Empire, they were people that were already given to learning. Yeah. So when Islam came, it just advanced them in their learning. That was it. Very true. When you look at the Islamic world, and someone might correct me, but I would say, and I don't want it to sound anti-Arab, but I would say the Arabs, as a culture within themselves, other than language and poetry, and eloquence and poetry, they didn't have much in terms of giving to the world, in terms of inventions of mathematics, and they were not illiterate people themselves.
You serve all the people.
See what I'm saying?
Many days.
So, in fact, most of the notable inventions that you all hear and stuff come from Persia, and Persians were already given to learning again. So I'm saying, anyone who says that, you have to really check what they're saying. Is it an Islamic standpoint that it was a Muslim society? No, it wasn't. And those people in the West, like Mansa Musa, they were not conquered by no Arab.
Right, let's say I agree with you, right? There's a difference. That we might be able to come to an agreement on what Islam represents versus, you know what I'm saying, what people say it is, yeah? But at the same time, if what people say it is the predominant social impact, then that's a problem in and of itself. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that, for example, and so, like I said, you will find examples of both. So I'm not one of the people that say, Islam came to West Africa peacefully. I think that's too simplistic.
I would say that.
I think that's way too simplistic. Yeah.
And the reason why is because I don't have any knowledge of conflict which was brought via Islamic conquest.
And that's the thing. I don't think you necessarily all the time find conflicts on the scale of Sudan, for example, and some of East Africa or North Africa. It's not necessarily going to be the same. But if we're talking about, let's look at Mali and Songhai, for example. You can see that political intrigue was one of the ways in which the religion spread. There was suppression of traditionalists. There was difference in taxation. There was just what I'm saying. So and to the point whereby I grew up thinking that Mali and Songhai were Muslim empires, and it's only through studying certain things I learned to understand that effectively it was more half and half. But it's just that the Muslims were in the ruling class, right? That's all it was, right? So, and I'm not saying at the moment, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that what it was and the story that's been told and the effect of that story being told in that way has an impact. So I'm saying that when we look at the situation now, because I'll be quite frank, I've seen the brother many times, and he always comes just like that, and I'm wondering what's that about?
But listen,
you know what I'm saying?
The thing is,
are
you saying, have you never heard Muslim
Yeah.
You won't find me wearing that.
I'm not, no.
And you won't find a whole lot of other brothers wearing that.
But the brother asked an important question, which shouldn't be lost, because when he was talking about balance, like I said, I don't agree with everything that he said, but this question is real. He said, where are all the Arabs with Ashanti names and Zulu names?
There aren't any.
And giving their
and
children
they're not going to
names.
be. And the reason,
that's the question.
But understand the reason why.
Yeah.
When
what was the reason?
Right, so the reason is when the man in Nigeria names his son Abu Bakr, which even Arabs don't even call their children that. Abu Bakr is a kunya, it's a nickname, right? But Africans saw a man called Abu Bakr who was held in high esteem because of his Islam and named their children after them out of emulation for the people, not out of the emulation of the culture. Man don't choose names like Abu Bakr because it's some sick Arabic name and Olumide is not. Like it's just that's not how it goes.
Would you agree with me?
In the same tradition, African tradition, you give your children names with good meaning. You know the meaning of names and stuff.
Yeah. No, but there is a point, and bro, because I have seen this, whereby people discard. Their traditional.
That is an issue. That is an issue called self-hate.
Yeah, no.
That is an issue called self-hate that must be dealt with on a separate platform. Yeah,
I don't know if it can be.
Because do you know why I say that? Because when you say that, yeah.
Why is it? Why is that? But I haven't made a general statement. Africa being quite nuanced.
Was making general points. It's not got to do.
Yes.
From their culture.
Yeah. And that's what I've been saying.
No, but we're just saying that's not the majority. Africa, like there are many continental Africans.
Yes.
Who are Muslim, have been Muslim for many generations.
Yes.
And practice it in line with their culture also. An Indonesian Muslim, an Eritrean Muslim,
Yes.
this Muslim, we're all going to practice Islam, the same religion,
Yes,
very
differently. Sis,
Okay.
I don't know if you heard me when I first started speaking,
Yes.
but I remember. I don't know if you remember me saying that one of the problems that we're having. That's fine. I repeat. I identified that one of the problems was we're trying to find absolutes in a conversation where there aren't absolutes, because there's a lot of things that Isa is saying that is true, but there are some things that the other brother was saying that are also true. So I'm saying that we can't look at it like Islam didn't take away people's culture, and we can't look at it like Islam completely did, because there are examples of both, and we have to be able to negotiate the examples of both. And I'm saying, one second, because you would agree with me that language is an expression of culture, but within the Islamic religion, Arabic is elevated as a language. Yeah?
Within the Islamic tradition.
Within Islam,
right.
Arabic is elevated as a language. Yeah?
The highest language, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? As the highest expression.
Yeah.
So if
this is where I'm saying, yeah, there's a conflation, yeah. There is a difference between people holding Arabic like it's a heavenly language, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a difference of the Arabic came in the revelation because it was the language of the Prophet. Like I always say to people, Allah says in Surah Ibrahim, yeah? وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا بِلِسَانِ قَوْمِهِ لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ. We have not, and ironically I'm quoting Arabic, right?
Yeah.
We have not sent a messenger except in the tongue of his people so he may clarify to them what he's bringing them.
Yeah, but
right?
This is the difference. Because, and I think this is where it comes in the sense of the fact that this particular message was brought in that language and it's said to be for the world, so it's supposed to be expressed to the world through that language. And there are many Muslims who, one of the highest expressions or endeavors within their faith is to be able to learn the Quran in Arabic, not in Akan or Yoruba, or you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like even if they speak it in English, then it doesn't mean let's learn it in English first, then I'm gonna try and learn it in Yoruba, and then I'm gonna try and learn it in Arabic. No, it's the aim is to learn it in Arabic.
Yeah,
so
that's what I would summarize it.
No, but
Again,
we,
there's a
I'm not-
there's a
moment,
reason why
I'm not
people
questioning-
aim to do
I'm
Arabic
not-
first, yeah? And it's Arabic first. It's not a
Yes.
So would it be an issue for the other people?
No. Hear what I'm saying? At the moment, what's not being questioned is whether the revelation should have come in Arabic or not. What I'm interrogating is the impact of that when that becomes institutionalized and brought to people. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the impact or the effect that. So, for example, we all understand that the Europeans said they brought civilization, and with their civilization, they brought their language. And many of us. Say again? What's not fact? Sorry.
Idea of civilization in European.
Hold on. The European colonization mission.
That's the sentiment.
They expressed that they were trying to bring civilization, and as a part of their civilization, they brought their language and they imposed their language. And to this day, speaking a European language is a conduit towards education, towards political ascendancy, towards economic ascendancy. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. How dare me? Be careful. Be careful. No.
Let's not go.
'Cause I don't take kindly.
Listen.
What I'll say is, in terms of the Arabic,
How dare man, you know? Are you mad?
He doesn't know what you're saying.
I would dismiss a guy
The main
differently.
thing is, I know, is the East Africa, okay? I cannot speak about West Africa, Mid Africa, but what happened is, back in the day, East Africa,
I'm gonna ignore this guy,
from Egypt all the way down,
Guy's gonna get problematic.
they embraced Islam, no issue with that one, do you understand? But what happened is, they had their own culture, their language, even names, they used to give the names of their own culture. So what happened over the years is everything changed. They write in Arabic, they're giving their names of Arab, they're changing their dress, and they're changing everything completely and losing themselves. So my cousin, all he was mentioning,
on the balance of that, there are civilizations that use the Arabic script, but they wrote in their own language. That's what I'm saying. So it's in a sense
even
of,
the Arabic script is borrowed anyway. It's not even
Right.
Arabian anyway.
but
So
that-
even that is
I hear what you're saying.
nuanced,
But
like everyone
that's
borrows
the
from
point I'm trying to make.
everyone.
That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm just balancing the brother's statement with something. So even when I saw like writing from Mali. I assumed they were writing in Arabic. Actually, they were writing in indigenous languages but using the Arabic script. Right? Just what I'm saying. So I'm saying that, but I don't know. There's nuances in the thing, innit? So we have to be able to accept both of these dynamics, which I'm saying. And I'm saying that Uncle Danjum's whole conversation last week was asking this Korean guy, yeah, about how his people them are assimilating Christianity without losing their Korean culture, because he's concerned about certain other aspects or areas of the African continent that are not able to assimilate foreign religions without it having a detrimental impact. Uncle Daniel was here speaking to Somalis about not
Sudanese,
right?
South Sudanese.
Sorry, you were speaking to Somalis about not giving Arabic names over their indigenous names as though they're superior. That's what I'm saying, right? So my point is that there are issues that exist, my G. Just what I'm saying. These problems exist.
But I'm saying, like you're saying, it's not absolute thing.
Can I comment on this point quickly, if I may? I think what I'd like to, let's go down a rabbit hole just a little on your point there.
Yes.
I think there's a certain point, a turning point in culture, when people feel that there's no longer a clash between what has been imported and what they're practicing.
Yeah, we went there a minute ago.
You've done that.
Yeah,
so, for example, for some people like Somalis and some Senegalese, Ali is no longer to them a foreign name.
No, we spoke about this.
So I think there is that intentionality. I think is important here too. Where if you adopt an Arabian dress,
right,
because it makes you feel superior. I don't want to just be a Jamaican. I want deeper roots. If you're doing it to find an old culture that can give you credibility, I think you're making a mistake.
Let me
However,
let me say something quickly, because I'm from Jamaica.
But I haven't landed yet,
right?
huh?
I know.
If I leave that,
I'm gonna let you finish.
If the cut and paste that,
that's why I asked before I interrupt here. But me being from Jamaica, you being from Trinidad, you will know that we have names in Trinidad, in the Caribbean in general, that are European names that people consider to be Caribbean names, like Winston and Delray, and Cuthbert and Barrington. These are not Caribbean names.
But you also got Kojo and Kwame and all of them.
But those names so we have areas in the Caribbean that have retained their African culture, but the names are still considered African names. You know what I'm saying? So Kojo and Ray still considered African name, or they might consider it, for example, in Jamaica, they might consider it a maroon name. Yeah. Just what I'm saying. But I'm saying that so it's possible for people to identify with a culture so much that's not theirs that they adopt the expressions of the culture.
Like I was saying to the Korean guy, it's how much you take on and at what pace. I think if you take bits of culture slowly, and assimilate it into your culture and repurpose it, indigenize it, and repackage it, add your own value to it, it becomes yours. The problem is culture shock. When the culture is swamping your culture and your adoption of it is because you think it's better and makes you better. If you have to take what somebody else is to make yourself feel better, I think that is a problem.
And that sentiment is present as well amongst Muslims. I would concede that. But I would say that is more so out of the African landmass itself, and it's more with reverts like me myself, and my other Afro-Caribbean brothers that have grown up here that didn't really have a link to their culture.
Actually, some Salafis, some people who are Africans who have studied in Saudi lately, young Salafis come back with that attitude, and they are rude to the African elder Muslims. They are rude. They come back, and in order to show their superior learning, their Arabic is pronounced better, but they don't know more Arabic. Because what an African can learn under a tree in terms of literacy, you won't believe. However, those brothers come back from Medina Al Qura or Medina University. They come back and they will wear a thobe, like, you know. I don't want to point the fingers at the brother, but I have the right to say that. He ain't got no right.
I hear you.
Now,
I hear you.
what I'm saying is that does happen in Africa too. I've lived in Africa and I have a problem with it. What I'm saying is this, look. We have people here like, I don't know if you're from the Golden Triangle, Vietnam, Korea, I don't know where you're from, Philippines. Now, you're Filipino Catholic? today's. I know, but saying that sociologically you're Catholic. Sociologically, I mean the country's Catholic. The country's Catholic. No, we cool. I like doing this because I like speaking to real people. I don't like just talking. A lot of people talk about Africa, they've never been there. I like dealing with real human beings. As a Filipina, do you feel the Catholic religion makes you feel less of a Filipino, less proud to be Filipino?
I mean, it's nothing to do with me, you know? Like,
personally?
Yeah.
Okay, as a country. Okay, let me take it from... As Filipino people, do you think Catholicism has made you people feel less Filipino, being Catholics?
Well, it's been in our culture for so long now that it's
intertwined.
Part of our culture.
And this is the point I'm trying to make. Before you came, what I was saying is, people try to have a conversation of absolutes when there aren't absolutes in that kind of sense.
There is one absolute.
What's
one absolute, is that all nations,
is that there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is Muslim.
That's right. But I'm saying all nations, that have embraced Islam, you will find in them remnants of Arabic names, not because it's Arabian, but they are in emulation of famous and noble Muslims that are preceding. That's white, Asian, African.
I hear that.
Madaka, there are people telling me, you know the trolls, they're saying things like this. Oh, Danjuma has become an Arabian because he's wearing henna. Henna was first developed along the banks of the Nile. Henna is ancient Egyptian. People who should know better, who should know the history of ancient Egypt, need to know
and it's more known for India than
is
Arabian
ancient
anyway.
Egyptian. They speak about turbans. Do you really think people in Rajasthan in India had to wait for Arabs to come and tell them, by the way, it's kind of hot in here, you need to wear a turban? Do you think the Tuareg had to wait for Arabs to come and tell them to wear a turban? It is ridiculous. A turban is a function of your environment. So when people say foolish things like to wear a turban is because you want to be an Arabian, to wear henna, it's because you want to be an Arabian, and to wear, the other day I was wearing a Moroccan jalaba. That's Berber. Berbers are not Arabians. We got stupid people sometimes who do not, who need, I'm not talking to y'all, I'm talking to them. We got a lot of damn fools who need to understand if you're gonna make an ass of yourself, be an intellectual ass. You need to know what you're talking about. Know your African history. Know African history.
There's a couple of things in this, and I wanna affirm something that you said about me last week.
Okay.
But add some nuance to it.
All right.
Because you said I'm an African spiritualist, and I would advocate
cosmologies. I said plural.
I
don't use singular.
Right. And for people that do African spirituality, the term encompasses the similarity and the plurality, if that makes sense. That's what I'm saying. So there is nobody saying that there is one African spirituality.
I said cosmologies.
But the term is an umbrella term, and it's intended to be an umbrella term. But you said that I would advocate that as African people we'll find our best self by returning to our indigenous spirituality.
Yes.
You are correct. That is my conviction.
Yes.
But as you will appreciate.
I would be surprised if you didn't.
Because you know my father, right? But when we that's my ideal.
Yes.
But if we I'm sure you would appreciate if we were to balance ideal with reality.
With what's happening?
We have nuance, right? And so for me,
and that's right. You got your synthesis. We call it thesis, antithesis, and synthesis.
Right? So my thing is that I'd agree with you. If there is a post-Abrahamic Africa, it's not happening anytime soon. So it's not my immediate fight to convert everybody. I like to convert some, I'm not gonna lie.
It's an evolution.
Like Isa, I like to convert Isa, you know what I mean? I like Israel, I like to convert Isa, you know what I mean?
Let's convert Isa now.
You know what I mean?
Take your anti-Shahada now.
I got a question for you.
What's it? However, I do believe that there is need for work, and this is why I appreciate a lot of your discourse on this issue, in terms of one of the things that I tell people that are Afrocentric, because many of us come from a Christian tradition, we are able to instinctively understand or identify where there are African retentions in Christianity, in a way that we're not always able to identify where there are African retentions of Islam.
Because you're not familiar with Islam.
We're not as familiar with
Trinidadians are. If you come to Trinidad, you'll see a whole different thing.
And I agree.
Where on African Emancipation Day, we have the Mandingo March.
Right.
And everybody wearing this thing that day.
Right.
And they're wearing these African clothes, and they represent Islam.
Right.
We are all always, and that's where we different from a lot of, and we can't understand that a lot of this discourse.
And I agree.
A lot of this discourse that's trying to excise Muslim black people from the Pan-African discourse surprises Trinidadians. We're surprised at it.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. And because the Pan-African discourse has always...
No, don't tell me no theory. We want to just...
Let me just land on this point. Let me just land on this point.
I don't want to hear about no Aqidah.
So my point is,
no, I don't want to hear it right now.
As an African-centered individual, African spiritualist, one of the things that I try to do is to educate about that nuance. That in the same way that Africans who coming out of a Christian tradition can identify the retentions of Christianity that have African expression, we need to develop
Let me do 1, 2, 3, 4. First, will you go to any African house in Senegal on this place? We sit down together, we eat from one with the right hand. The Akan have a proverb. I swear by the fingers of my eating hand, the right hand. That's an Akan proverb. You eat with your hand, you sit together communally. We are all circumcised. So Caribbeans who are not circumcised wouldn't be tapping into that immediate Africanity. We tap right into that Africanity. The situation with ladies, cork your ears. We are polygamous. Put your hands to your ears. We have more than one wife. We are used to it, right? So that's part of our Africanity too. So circumcision, communal eating, sitting on the floor together, humility in sitting, that sort of thing. Polygamy, we have, and there are more. Wearing loose clothing so that the body don't show. That is also a part of Islam. Okay, I call you Young Mandaka. Remember, I don't call you by your name. You know why? Your father is the famous man, Mandaka. That is an Islamic culture. Even Mandaka. In Islam, if the father is famous, you say son of.
You find that all over the continent.
Exactly. In Trinidad, we call you Young Mandaka. Young man. It is an African culture and it is an Islamic culture. So if you want to tell people, so we're just doing this dialogue. If you want to show people the interface between Africanity and Islam, it is there.
But you would also...
El Hajj. Guy.
Can I ask you?
Go.
He's from Senegal. Okay. Come in on this, sir.
I think here's my question.
Senegal, brother.
So, for example, Abdullah, what does Abdullah mean?
Abdullah.
Yes.
Yeah, Abdullah.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So, in African language, there must be a word that says servant of God.
Right.
Yes.
Call yourself that.
Yes, call that one
okay,
name.
let me answer you. But
you said the same thing last week.
Let me run ahead. I'm going to run ahead. My closest brother.
Yes.
He's in a wheelchair these days. His name is Hassan Anyabwile. He's from Trinidad. His name is Hassan Anyabwile is Nyakyusa from Tanzania, means God has unchained me. So he has that name, but in the African language.
Yes.
Anyabwile.
Yes.
He has that, what you are saying, but in an African language.
Yes. So my point I was making earlier on.
Hassan Anyabwile.
Can I play advocate here?
So have you more to ask about this?
Yeah.
Has that satisfied you?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I do. So, continuing on that one, so what's happening in East Africa, predominantly what's happening is they're embracing Islam, but they're not using the names like Abdullah in their own language. Instead, why not?
Okay, but let me answer this.
What countries? I was going to ask.
I know East Africa very well. I've lived there long enough. Let me explain to you. Oh no, you're talking about that part. Well, now what? They have
Somalia,
been. Look,
Ethiopia.
They still have their names.
Let me come.
No. It's not black and white. You get me wrong. Like I'm not saying everybody's that way. Don't get me wrong. You understand what I'm saying? But predominantly where it's going is even the Somalis, they start writing in Arabic.
They don't. They write in Italian. They write in English.
Can I come in?
There's no Arabic script.
Your own script?
All right. When you say East Africa, I should have asked you where.
It's Roman.
No, here's what I want to say about that. In some places in the world where the environment... No, listen to the answer. Because this is good for you too. Your environment was similar to the Arabian Peninsula. So when Islam arrived, it is not that they adopted Arab culture. Their culture was similar from the get-go. Let me repeat that. Because of the similarity in the Somali environment in Houd, and these areas and keeping camels and nomadism. The culture was already, so when somebody came to them and said, I better never see you again till next year. Okay, yeah. See, Northern Sudan, I always annoy them. They are my favorite people, and I always annoy them. And we love each other, love it. Now, Northern Sudanese, for the most part, speak Arabic.
So Arab Sudanese.
Hold on. They call themselves Arabs. So I tease them. I say, y'all are not Arabs, man. Y'all are B-Rabs. I don't make that up.
You got in trouble for that last week,
They always, he likes being disrespectful. So I put him in his place. I love him, but I gotta put my kids in their place sometimes.
I hear you.
Now, he knows in the days back in, young people gave respect. He knows that. El Hajj, we come from the days when people gave men like him respect. We didn't argue with men like him. But now this is about rude. Everybody want to fight. Now, the thing is, in the Somali culture and Northern Sudanese, the Northern Sudanese go a step further. They speak Arabic. They have some of them their own language, like the Danagla. They speak Nogolawi. But mostly, they speak Arabic. Now, because their environment is almost a replica of the Arabian Peninsula, and because some few of their ancestors came from the Arabian Peninsula, and here's the kicker, not all came through Egypt. Some came through the Red Sea, like the Kawahla tribe. Did not come with the conquest of Amr ibn Alas or Abdullah down the Nile. No, long before Islam, the Kawahla ethnic group crossed the Red Sea from Hejaz to Kassala. So some of the Sudanese Arabs are actually Arabs. That's the problem. That confuses the picture. But some of them and most of them are not. They are Arabicized Nubians. Like the Shaigia lost their language. So there's no more concept. I'm trying to explain.
That's what he's saying.
You see, I like to give deep explanation.
It's beautiful.
I'm trying to let the brother understand when you're in an aeroplane. When you're in an aeroplane,
stop talking about
from
religion
very high.
And talk about Ghana and Guinea giving France money to fix that Amsterdam.
No, that's rubbish.
It's a good subject.
Take him that way.
That's fake news. That's fake news.
El-Hajj, take him that
That's
way.
fake news.
El-Hajj,
telling you,
take him over there.
Brother, that's fake news.
Are you sure?
No.
I'm telling you, that's fake
I'm trying to
news.
say
What, the President Agili didn't get him the money?
That's fake news.
You asked the question. You asked the question about why some take him that way. So why some African ethnic groups are more predisposed to apparent Arabism than others. Like the Yoruba. The Yoruba would be Muslim, but until he tells you, you may not know, in the way the Hausa boy who was standing there was a Muslim. Now, with Sudanese people, some of them are actually Arab, in my opinion, a minority. The vast majority are Arabicized Nubians. But because the desert environment was so similar to where they came from, the culture was similar from the beginning. I'm trying to see if this makes sense to you.
It does make sense.
Right. Now, some people too, listen to this. Let me defend the Christians a little too. Take a place like Rwanda and the Congo that became Christian without actually being slaves. Those people, think about this. When Moctezuma went to conquer Mexico, they butchered all the Mexicans, killed the king, Hernando Cortez, all that. We wonder why the Aztecs became Catholic. After you reduce the people's culture, destroy them, they still speak Nahuatl, but mostly they speak Spanish. But they still have their own language, Nahuatl. So they have a consciousness of who they were. Why are they Catholic? Check the reason. Check the reason. The Catholic priest came to them and said this: instead of a God to whom you must sacrifice your people, I bring you a God who sacrificed his son for you. Let me explain. The Aztecs had a culture that surrounded ceremonies of human sacrifice. They would drug the candidate with peyote, and when he's in a state of stupor, they lead him up the steps of the temple and cut out his heart, still beating while he's alive. And they did that with many people, and of course, people were asking questions in that culture about that. So if now the Catholics come And after all that upheaval, destruction, the people don't know where to turn. And the Catholic priest come and say to you, from this day onward, we bring an end to human sacrifice. Instead of a God to whom you must sacrifice your people, I bring you a God who sacrificed his son to you. And that logic proved flawless, and those people became Catholic. Now, I don't like that history, but it is what it is. History is not convenient for us. History is what it is. I'm not saying history isn't reversible. Within that dialectic, those people pretend they are Aztec customs, being Catholic. Some Africans in Angola and Congo converted very early because a lot of kingdoms were in upheaval even before the arrival of the European. Just like how the Maya kingdom had already disappeared before the arrival. The Spanish did not destroy the Mayan civilization of the Yucatan. It had disappeared. All right. So the people of that civilization, even though the ruins and the monuments were there, those people were in a state of cultural disorder. So what I'm going to say is this. History is what it is. We can look at Chancellor Williams' book and say, yeah, white people and Arabs are our perpetual enemy. Everything they did was bad. They destroyed everything. That lacked nuance, and he, Chancellor William himself, said to us, we need to become specialists. He himself, by his own admission in his book, says the generalist historian is out. We need people, given the size of Africa and its diversity, to specialize in different parts of Africa.
I would argue that Chancellor Williams was far from a generalist.
Can I ask you?
No, he's a generalist.
No, he can't be a generalist.
He's a generalist.
That book was meticulously researched.
I disagree in many. I can disagree with that book in many, many ways.
I'm not saying you can't, you know.
I will tell you one simple way.
I'm not saying you can't, but it's a groundbreaking text. You know why?
It's for its time.
Do you know why?
Yeah, for its time. Not now. It's dead in the water now.
Let me explain why.
It's dead in the water.
One second.
Okay, go on. You know, I always have you with me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The other question
I don't know. Is your brother? Let me ask you. Your cousin, is he from Guyana?
No.
I picked up some Guyanese in his accent.
No, he grew up everywhere. Now.
Okay, talk to me. Go on.
So the other question I have is like, you know, are you pro Islam being embraced?
Yes.
No, wait. Islam being embraced, keeping the people's language and culture, or are you pro where Islam is embracing more Arabic culture, like the language? And
I believe that's a rhetorical question.
What do you mean?
I believe you know the answer to that question.
No. I just want to know because you're quite like you see different angles.
You're being serious?
No, I'm serious. I'm genuinely
well,
serious.
I think
I want to see how you see it.
From how I've been speaking,
yes.
I believe, Sister Bliss, I believe I believe it is possible to be Muslim and African. I do not believe becoming monotheistic takes away from your Africanity unless your intention by embracing Christianity and Islam is to think you are better than black people.
Or to be dependent on.
Money from Qatar or money from Texas.
Or Hebrew, depend on Hebrew or Arabic. Yeah. You don't want to be dependent on that.
Be African. Just be African. Nobody can take it away from you.
So it should be that way, yeah?
Yeah.
So I think
I
think my cousin was saying the same thing. He's saying like, you know, he's saying the exact same thing.
Okay.
He's not saying like, you know, you shouldn't be.
No, but he doesn't have the right. I'm going to insist. I'm going to lean on this point.
Okay.
When you dress like that, with all those Europeanized tattoos, they're not African. They're not Fulani tattoos.
I agree.
They're not Fulani. They're African.
No, I do agree. But I'm seeing it from context.
I know you and I now having a select, and we agree. You know, he and I, we agreed that he doesn't have the right to advance that critique.
Yeah.
I am saying this simply. That black people cannot, some kinds of history may not be reversible. The Filipinos ain't gonna stop being Catholic. That's why I put that girl in the story. The Filipinos ain't gonna stop being Catholic. The Koreans, I'm right. Well, the Koreans, okay, keep going, the Koreans ain't gonna stop being Protestant.
Yes.
What they are going to do is still producing their Hyundai and their technology. They're going to still have that. We need to develop that sense of industry, development, self-worth. We need to. Let me give you an example. He's wearing native African dress. I'm wearing African dress. Some kinds of African cloth is made in Switzerland. Holland, Dutch wax.
China.
Holland, now China.
Yes.
Now here's my problem. When the British attempted to steamroll over the Indian textile industry, Gandhi said, we ain't gonna wear no damn clothes. Homespun. Everybody take off clothes that's made in the mills in Manchester and we're homespun. And they reversed. Let me tell you, I think what they did to the mills of Manchester, the textile industry in England, helped put a nail in the coffin of the British Raj, even though it was in the dying days already of the British Raj. We Africans need some of that chutzpah.
All right, but
we need that. Let
me tell you where we're going to get it from, though, because for me, what the context of this conversation is that I don't think there's a serious push on the continent coming from non-Abrahamic traditionalists to push Abrahamic religions off the continent.
No, they like it actually.
Right? Say again?
They seem to like it.
What we do see is a push coming from Abrahamic religions to eradicate traditionalism.
It's true.
Right? And so I always like to have this conversation in that context, because we like Pan-Africanist and African-centered people around, like, you know, here and in America and them kind of things there, speaking out against Abrahamic religions takes place in that context, and it's not going to change the reality of what is going on the continent, if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? Because even in these places here, the majority of us are not traditionalists, we're Abrahamics, if we're religious at all. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? And because of that, even in our communities here, as Pan-Africanists, as Pan-African a presence as we have here, the majority of us are still in Abrahamic religions, and as a consequence of being in those religions, look down upon religions that are outside of it.
Yes.
So I'm saying that's the reality that we're dealing with, right? Just what I'm saying. So I'm saying that and so it is.
And I do not like it at all.
No, and I know you don't, and I know you don't. But I'm saying that in terms of, so where we're gonna get that sense of self from, because me coming here in African Gum is because of the fact that I come from a Pan-Africanist family that teaches that there's meaning in this, that we affirm this, we express this thing. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like that level of expression and that level of dignity, that level of spot, as you call it here, is going to come from that conviction, that African-centered conviction. You know what I'm saying? So that African-centered conviction can exist as it has existed in Islam. It can exist as it has existed in Christianity. It just so happens that at this dispensation of time, that African-centered expression in Abrahamic religion is not the dominant expression. It doesn't dominate, you know what I'm saying? So for example, the African-centered church in America is a minority. Yeah, like you've got some churches in America where the pastor is wearing like how Uncle Danjuma's dressed.
Or Kente Shaw.
Just what I'm saying, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And they deliberately, you have black churches in America whereby you'll find Adinkra symbols in the church. That's a minority. Yeah? The Morid or the Baifals who follow Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, yeah?
No, they follow Ibrahim Afal. The Baifal follow Ibrahim Afal.
Yes. Thank you for the correction, yeah? But even that is inspired by
But Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba told them that Ibrahim Afal was 200%. He told them that the guy loved him for the sake of God, because he loved, but the guy didn't have all his marbles.
Yes, right? I hear you. Right? But my point is that is what I would consider an African expression of Islam, but it's still a minority. Right, and you will know that there are, and in fact we had a conversation in the park.
They recognize me whenever they see me. Whenever they see me, we just vibe.
Are they here?
Some of them in London. Okay. You see, when they see me, we just vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we've spoken to people who they would identify those people and look down upon them as not pure. Yeah, in their practice of the faith and their kind of things.
That's an increasing tendency from young Africans who've studied in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
There's a problem I'm noticing with them. Right. I want to critique. All right, let me, for the purposes of disclosure, I did tease Zakaria. Over there. When I first arrived.
After all this.
All right, let me give you one small joke now. I teased him when I was with Salahuddin. Maybe that's why he got more upset.
Okay.
Teased him and I said, listen, we need to rep who we are. Because I introduced myself for the first time. I've known him several months. And I only just realized he's Jamaican.
Yeah.
I didn't know until today. So I said, Zakaria. So then I made a joke and said, I come like this to show my brothers that you gotta get rid of that. Just like you jumped out of the suit and tie and trousers and spats.
Yeah.
You gotta jump out of that. The black and white minstrel show, men in white, women in black. Get out of that. Wear your African clothes. And try to wear the African indigenous clothes like the Bogolan. Not the one from China. Now, of course, I have the luxury of saying it. I know a lot of people felt criticized because everybody else was wearing European clothes. So when I told them, man, you dress like a white man, I know other people felt criticized by extension because they dress like that. But I don't expect anybody else to know that. But similarly, if you're going to make a criticism, you have to be able to show something alternative.
Okay.
And
me, I think the only thing I saw is like, you know, why don't you be a Muslim without the whole Arab image? You can still be a Muslim.
You come late, Khalid. You come late.
I was there the whole day.
Oh, you did, son. Yeah, right? Good to see you. Really did come late. Yeah. Now, all what I'm trying to say is exactly. So the situation was like that. Now, my view of this is this. A lot of people do feel that dressing like in the old days, we had people who were dressed like that in our mosque. And let me give you a funnier joke. Some were dressed like Pakistanis. Shalwar, kameez. Now you're young. In the old days, more Pakistanis here wore the shalwar kameez. That generation seems to be on the way up. The young Muslims know since 9/11 they like the Bin Laden thing. So the young Pakistanis wear Arab clothes. They feel as more manly. They think wearing a shalwar kameez, you know what I'm saying? They look like your dad. And they know their fathers. They got a lot of courage after 9/11. After Salman Rushdie affair, a lot of young Pakistanis found their voice. Now, what happened? For a time, they wore the shalwar kameez. During the Mujahideen war in Afghanistan, that was the dress of the Mujahideen. And even the Taliban, they wore the shalwar kameez. But for most part, in Trinidad, we associated that with the Indian Muslim community. And we in Trinidad, black Muslims, Africans, we didn't wear that. We made a point of wearing as this. Because one of our imams, and I'm going to call his name, was Salahuddin Popo'ola Tayo, a Yoruba man. He came and he brought a lot of Africanity with him. And he started to tell us how African Islam is done. And the African community in Trinidad does have a strong African indigenous character. So when I came to London, I wasn't made in England. I came here with African clothes, and my community, the early Muslims, started saying to me, brother, why you gotta be so nationalist? I'm telling you the truth. But they were like 10 years older than me. They had to kind of, now I don't shut up. But then I was younger than them, so I had to chill. And they were saying things to me like, and they're wearing shalwar kameez. Some of them wearing Arab clothes, some wearing white man clothes, and telling me, brother, why you, I used to wear the big, you know the grumbubu, the big one. They said, why are you so nationalist? Agbada. Why are you so nationalist? And they're wearing other people's clothes. When I mentioned it, I'm the racist. So from very early, I had that problem, and I had to work on my people because early Muslims were told, being proud of who you are is racism, and there's no place for racism in Islam. And they bought a false narrative. It was a false, and what made it worse, a young generation that was born from those people grew up in this country at the same time the young Somali community was arriving in the 90s. Now, this young Somali community, coming out of the upheaval of the fall of Siad Barre, couldn't understand what had happened to their country, which was one of the most advanced in thinking up to that time in Africa, and they believed their problem must be that Siad Barre took them into nationalism and cultural Africanity, and it caused them to disintegrate into tribalism, and the only way to rectify the problem was to become very, very good Muslims. And what happened is you saw a lot of Somali actually thinking the solution is we were bad Muslims. Under Siad Barre, our women had afros out, our women were in the army. Large part of the army were female, and this must have been wrong. Ergo, the right way as Muslims is to find our religion. And that's where you get young Caribbeans growing up here, meeting these black, for the first time we saw black Muslims, because all the Muslims we saw in this country had brown skin, straight nose and straight hair. Now for the first time, black people. But they acted, inverted commas, Arab. And that's what confuses the Caribbean community. I'll make one last point. I went to a wedding, I wrote about it on Facebook. I went to a wedding, Sudanese kid, stepfather's my friend, Caribbean. Caribbean stepfather. Mother, Sudanese. In order to justify why she married out back in those days, Sudanese did not marry foreigners, Sudanese girls. Back then. After Turabi time, it became different. I know because I lived in the Sudan for 3 years, I know about this, right? I wouldn't go deeper than that. I'll be telling my business.
I was going to ask you, though, Uncle, you know what I mean? I was about to ask, you know what I mean?
But my brother married this sister, and in order to justify why she was with him, she had to become a rigid Muslim.
Right.
Now, when this guy's stepson, because the guy who got married wasn't his son, wanted to get married, at the university, he met this chick from Afghanistan. Of course, they loved each other. The parents had to allow it eventually. The wedding, in order to justify their meeting, had to justify its existence, its raison d'etre, on the grounds of pure Islam. So in the wedding, the men were all shoved in one room, like this really orthodox Islamic wedding. We didn't get to see shit. We in one little room, people are crack, when all the Muslim, all them honeys doing the thing, because the Sudanese wedding ceremony was taken charge of.
Yeah.
Very few Afghans turned up to the wedding. I gotta say this. We sat in the room now, the few Caribbeans, friends of the stepfather, we sat in the room bemoaning, saying, you know something? Sudanese culture's been represented here. The food was Afghan. Oh yeah, I remember. The buffet, the layout. The food was Afghan. The ceremony was Jirtig, Northern Sudanese. Where is the Caribbean contribution? And we began to feel like, well, we actually not here. We actually, and I said, you know something? We did this to ourselves. By not developing our culture, by trying to be ultra-orthodox, we never developed a sense of arts and culture.
Right.
We never planted deeper roots.
How would it have been different if there was an expression of Islam coming from Africans in the Caribbean?
Well, there wasn't the wedding. The wedding, the Jirtik ceremony that prevailed. We saw it through the door like that, right? That was Sudanese. Right. So the Sudanese, clearly what seemed to have happened, I can't call names, these are my friends, huh? Yeah. So clearly what happened is a lot of the Afghan family may not have felt happy about the union. And therefore, the large majority of the people who took charge of the proceedings were the Sudanese side. So in other words, the boy's mother, his father is not around, it's his stepfather who invited us Caribbean. We had nothing to do with it at all except eat in one room and look through a peephole. Now, okay, and we began, a bunch of Caribbeans, doing the usual Windrush thing, like old men sitting together, talking about back home. When we did this,
you wasn't drinking rum though, Uncle.
We were playing no damn. We had a dominoes, maybe no rum. Right. But we like, where is our contribution? And I said, brothers, y'all gonna hate me. We did this to ourselves. Because we felt culture was the C word. We always treated culture as the C word. I said, and the Somali people are going to do this to themselves if they don't watch out. If they keep stripping the culture back, stripping it away. I say everything is haram. They're going to end up like this, wondering one day, who are we? I said, they're lucky, they have a language, they got a standpoint. We have an uphill struggle, and my people fought me. I was fought when I was 20, 24. 25, growing up. You know what I did? I kicked the dust of London off my shoe and went to live in Africa. And when I came back, I said, now, elders, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm speaking about. And many of them who criticized me took themselves off later to go and live in the Gambia. And unfortunately, they never changed. They went there criticizing women who's wearing the hijab that they can see the hair through it, criticizing everything. And you come to realize some people convert because they got problems in themselves. I'm going to have to say this, whether Christian, Muslim, or Orisha. A lot of people who move from one doctrine, even communism, even veganism, a lot of people who make major shifts in their life are trying to fix something in themselves, but instead they take themselves where they go and affect the thing that they are purporting to practice, which I suppose is to be expected. The whole thing we are discussing is an existential crisis in black people. And I want to say one last thing, I will shut up now after, about the Ifa. In Brazil, the candomblé is an expression of Ifa Orisha.
What is it?
The Yoruba, it's an expression of the Yoruba spirituality in Brazil. Okay. It's very thriving there. What is happening though, there's a lot of money because you had great anthropologists like Pierre Verger, Fatumbi, and others who joined who actually taught Orisha. They taught Orisha. People like the great Pierre Verger. I thought you never saw me. I'll play like that. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, you all right? Now, a lot of white people are joining that religion.
Whites or white?
Whites.
Okay.
Europeans. They like it. You know why? It's like what Bob Marley said about the 12 tribes. Ain't no rules, ain't no vows, you can do it anyhow. That's the worst thing Bob Marley said in the most beautiful song he ever sang. I love that song, but I hated that line because Rastaman left Nyabingi, joined 12 tribes, started drinking alcohol, and fraternizing with the enemy. And when you ask him, what you doing? Bob Marley saying no rules. When no rules ain't over. And when you start bringing those people to Shashumani, they're paying for their aeroplane fares, they're funding projects. Yeah? The enemy, you got them in there. I'm worried about Orisha in Brazil. Lot of Europeans. The faith is beautiful.
And
it's
Cuba.
attractive.
And Cuba.
And a lot of these people join.
And in Nigeria. A lot of them are going to Nigeria.
Exactly. So what I was saying earlier, I was talking about this book earlier on content of everything. And I was saying to them, while I applaud what these people are doing, because this is our concern too, desertification and culture in Africa, global warming, how it's affecting the hottest countries first. At the same time, I said to them, you join any revolution, keep one eye always open on the revolution itself, because you don't know who's funding them.
I agree.
You don't know if they are the actual enemy.
Put it this way, anybody that can lock down central London for 2 weeks straight has got P. I've been on protest.
My point is here. Okay. Sorry, young Mandaka, what I'm saying is this. Even with Orisha, the critique I'm leveling against Islam and Christianity, I want to keep an eye on our indigenous African
I would agree
faith.
with that.
They are porous.
I wholeheartedly
agree. They are permeable.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
They are all embracing. And once they're taken over,
came from Africa. Everything. Blues,
you're
reggae.
so naughty. Where you go? Get him. He's a very naughty boy. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
What I'm trying to say,
that's the point.
Yes, do not assume because something is African, it's watertight.
I would agree with that.
It's not.
We wholeheartedly agree.
Me too.
I would wholeheartedly agree. The only thing I would add though, because you said something earlier on this point about the ability or inability of African spirituality or religions to be translatable outside of
portable translatable.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And I would say you're correct in one sense, but I would say that it wasn't necessarily necessary.
I think the lack of writing stymied it. Whereas Hinduism could take the fight to the enemy. The Maharishi Yogi and the Beatles. Remember the Beatles? The Beatles and the Maharishi Yogi? Because there's a text. He could read. There are songs. You know the songs the Hindus sing? We didn't have those things. We didn't have that. So whereas Indian spirituality...
We had songs on good.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
We cannot... What I mean is this.
No, I get what you're saying.
With Thailand Buddhism...
No, it was different. I get it. I get it. I understand. But my only point is that, in a sense, because if we're comparing that sensibility to Abrahamic religions, there is not necessarily an expansionist tendency that you find in African traditional spiritual systems.
But to be fair, neither in Buddhism and these, they tell you, be Buddhist and be Christian. Be Buddhist and they tell you that. I think by degrees, because Buddhism is so slack and easy.
I agree.
You end up shaking you do the Buddhism. Right? So they Buddhism kind of seeps in.
I half agree.
Buddhism can seep in under.
Yeah, I half agree. But let's not go to that.
I don't think they proselytize like, be Buddhist.
No. I'd agree with that, generally speaking. But I'm saying that because, for example, like if you look in Voodoo tradition in Benin, you will find elements of Ifa in it.
I kind of put them together. When I discuss Ifa Orisha, I'm discussing both.
But if you hear people that practice Voodoo in Benin, they're able to identify the cross-pollination
between... Some of the gods are interchangeable,
and we see that happen. So there was no need for conflict in that, because if me and you meet up, we can recognize...
That said, those two empires used to fight.
But not on religion. But not on religion.
No, but the point still is whether they are fighting on religion or not. A lot of the Yoruba ended up as slaves in the West because they got sandwiched between two different empires. When Aponja joined the Muslims of Sokoto, he wasn't thinking in terms of, I'm joining jihadis. They were all talking about territory.
And
they were not seeing
the
religion as a factor. Territory, I want that territory, I'm joining that group, I will amass more power with that group. So religion was in the minds of those people. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, I understand that though. these people's religions were similar, but that did not reduce the potential for conflict between King Geza, between Dahomey.
No, yeah, I agree.
And Oyo.
I agree. What I'm saying is that in the sense of the lack of translatability. Now, I would question it on the basis of the fact that what we see, like what you said in terms of the Caribbean.
Those were kingdoms. I remember I did specify where African societies pre-European and Arab arrival were already urbanized. Right. Their religions had the ability to form some structure.
And you also had different so-called religions operating often in one kingdom, right? And side by side, and so even the concept of country, like it didn't exist in the same way. There were no nation states, so the movement of people was superfluous. Yeah, in that sense, people moved around. So the only part I'm making it, so like we say with Ifa, because they had a codified system, it was easily translatable. Yeah. Right, just what I'm saying. Yeah. So I think, whilst I understand what you're saying, I think there's nuance in it, just what I'm saying, in the sense of...
no, but I think I made that nuance. Yeah. I believe there were other African cosmologies that were not as easily portable or translatable. And to the extent that...
like the Akan, for example, was not as easily because it was so localized.
But even Congo, the reason that Congo, a large part of the Congo, had actually accepted Christianity before the slave trade actually kicked in. They were trading with the Portuguese, they became Christians, and it is said that it's because an internal disintegration had already occurred. And in that chaos, people are looking for certainty. Just like when Muhammad arrived in Arabia, there was a kind of feeling of being sandwiched between the Persians and the Romans, and people were thinking a lot about religion. It's like when in Egypt, when Islam arrived in Egypt, they had an internal question about which is the true way. The different conflicting, there was the Aryans and the other kind of Christians competing with each other, and there's all that. So sometimes people do that. That happens. If you take a guy like Akhenaton, if Akhenaton comes and says voluntarily,
we lock him in. We lock him in.
I see you in Gambia, uncle.
No, you won't see me in Gambia.
What, you can't, you spent the whole time
in Gambia. I just
so why say he going to see you in Gambia?
He's not telling me he needs to come to Gambia.
So I'm not going to see you. I'm going to come to Gambia, I'm not going to see you. What happened to you?
No, you have to come and see me. You have to go and see me.
Union family.
No, my wife is half Gambian, half Nigerian. We just build.
That's a beautiful combination.
We just build it. I just got back 3 weeks ago. So I tell him when he's come down, he can say about me,
We're going to talk.
All right, say.
Okay,
that was safe, uncle. Yes, uncle. No, yeah, so we...
Listen, what I believe is this, you know? You made me lose my thread, you know what I was trying to say. I was trying to say something about, okay, you got people like the Somali at one end, whose religion... Somalis at one end, whose pre-Islamic culture, because of the environment, resembled the Arabian pre-Islamic culture. So when Islam came to them, the crossover was not big. It was literally Bab al-Mandab. Metaphorically, it was that small, that sea crossing. It was that small. Similarly, in Northern Sudanese, when Islam came to them, the environment and things, you understand what I'm trying to say? There was a lot of crossover. Now there are other parts, if you get the Nilotic people, so let's go, leave the Kushites, forget the Kushites and go to the Nilo-Saharans. Let's take people like the Dinka, the Nuer and the Shilluk. The Nilots, what they call the West Nilotic group of tall, black, you saw one of them on the video last week. Their religion never talked about sub-deities. Their religion never represented their God in iconography. They did not really even have drums, like how other Africans have drums. You will be surprised. Those Nilots did not possess drums. So, I always talk about, let us be wary of discussing African cosmology as homogeneous. Because I'm now talking to you about people like the Dinka, the Nuer, and the Shilluk, who the Dinka called God, some say Deng, some say Jeng. The Shilluk called God Nyakang. And God was one God. He was always one God. He never had sub-deities. Even the Catholics, for crying out loud, have archangels and angels. And that's how the Yoruba managed to kind of sneak in there. Archangels and angels The Yoruba just said, those are our gods who are lesser in descending level of importance. That's who they are. And then the Catholics bought it and they didn't understand what
Islam has angels though.
they have. No, what I'm trying to say is this. Whereas with the Nilotic religion, pre-Abrahamic Nilotic religion, it would not in any way have resembled Yoruba religion. So let's say the Yoruba had a war and began to fight the Dinka. And they wanted to convert the Dinka. Imagine that. Or they colonized the Dinka. The Dinka would have said, well, this is what you do. Do as you do. You keep with your multiplicity of Oludumare, and then there is Obatala, Inshallah, and your Ogun, Yemoja, Oya. You can keep that. We just believe in Nyakang, Eifayo, and Shirukman. No other gods. Just like that. So, there are two different African cosmologies. One of them, the other one looks like Islam. Hear me now. One looks like Islam. One is considered by the Afrocentrists who don't know better as the real African religion. Who told you that's the real one and the Shiluk and the Dinka one is not real? What makes the Yoruba one or the Bodu, the Beni one more African than that practiced by the Dinka, the Nuer, or the Shiluk?
How do the Dinka address ancestors?
The Dinka. It's very rudimentary. It's not the way. They don't pour libations. They don't do any of those things. They may slaughter a bull and they call the name and they sit down and they would not, like how the Yoruba would put food, pour oil.
Yeah.
And they will never do that.
But ancestor veneration is a part of the...
Yes, but not worship.
Right.
It's not worship.
Okay, so
it's not worship.
We're dealing with language then.
Because
I would argue that it's always veneration.
With the Yoruba, it's powerful.
Yeah,
it's very
but I would
powerful.
still call it veneration though.
And with the Akan, it's powerful. Yeah. However, the Akan likewise, as opposed to the Yoruba, the Akan do not have a strong sense of representation, their deities in the form of statuary. Now, I don't like this notion that one cosmology is more African than the other. Like the Dogon are supposed to be our mysterious people. And then there are some South African, what do they call that leader? Ngoma. Some Ngoma telling lies. His name is Credo Mutwa. Credo Mutwa. His name is Credo Mutwa telling lies.
Why you say
he's a liar. I'm telling you, he's a liar. That one. I hate deceivers. Credo Mutwa is a deceiver.
Yeah.
He's a deceiver.
Why you say
and that? These people make people fear our traditional cosmology because they lie. They want to add some Scientology and Anunnaki and all these things that I went through with Dwight York. I went through all with Dwight York, man, and I left that movement. Trying to fool black people with white stuff turned black. Malachi York. I know what he was called. Alhaji Imam Isa, Muhammad Abdullah Al-Mahdi. I know what he was called.
Dwight York is the footballer, you know what I mean?
No, Dwight York. He's my countryman. He's my countryman. No, I'm talking about this American guy who's in jail in Atlanta, right? I'm telling you. Let me tell you what some Muslims in Africa feel about traditional religion. And I know what has happened. Traditional religion has been marginalized. It has been degraded and sidelined. Therefore, the door was open for charlatans to co-opt it. Because it was not given the respect it deserved, it became an alt culture. So in Trinidad, we have songs like Take Me to the Obiaman. Take me to the Obiaman, which is to say, when Christianity has failed me and all else has failed, I will fall back on my African belief. Now, it's meant to be a good song, but in fact, what he wants is something done that is akin to sorcery, that only the Obiaman can do. Now, we know, we have a joke. We say the biggest Obia is performed on Mount St. Benedict by the priests in the Catholic Church in Trinidad. We say that. They're the biggest Obia men. All right, park that. What I'm saying here is, there's this song, Take Me to the Obiaman, which is to say, when civilization has failed, I become primeval once more. Now, the song for me cuts both ways, because it's saying that when we are released, when we have nothing to fall back on but the preternatural world that is unpoliced, we go to that particular person. Now that person very often will tell you, I want this, I want that, give me 2 cows, give me a sheep, some chicken, some this, that, and it is never ending. If you are failed in one, etc. So what has happened with African religion, it has acquired a reputation for being akin to sorcery or charlatanism. I am not saying that is not a developing trend in African Christianity and some forms of Marabu Islam in Africa. It is bleeding into that. But I understand why, for a large part, a lot of Muslims and Christians do say African traditional religion is coterminous with sorcery and charlatanism.
I hear that.
Yeah. And I know you know that.
Yeah. The only contradiction is that if we was to make murder and rape and pillaging synonymous with Christianity and Islam,
quite true,
it would be considered a problem.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And if we're gonna do the one, we could justifiably do the other. That's what I'm saying.
People have short memories. What they see now is muti. You know, sometimes they say they talk of a body without a torso, without arms and legs floating in the Thames. And they say in Dalston Market, if you want to buy human body parts for some nefarious preternatural undertaking, you can purchase dried human body parts. If you want to find albino people in Africa, what happened to them, particularly in Tanzania, eastern part of Africa, they are ritually slaughtered. So what people are saying is African cosmology is coterminous.
Right. And I'm going to give
these practices,
and I think
which is wrong.
No, but you've made an essential point though. Outside of that, which is when a culture, a civilization of different people is sidelined, it degenerates the culture. So this in general.
Anybody calls himself leader.
Right. Anybody. Right. So in the spiritual system is not immune from that degeneration, because it's all encompassing. It degenerates the politics, degenerates the economics, degenerates the social system, the family structure. Just what I'm saying. So in that context, and I was having this conversation with the same sister, Dr. Mumbi, the other day, in the sense of the fact that when we look at our old traditions and the need to restore dignity and respect to them, it's because of one of the reasons is because we had civilization whereby the spiritual system was operating as the highest expression of the people's culture. It was operating in terms of government, it was operating in terms of economics, the education system, all these things, from which we were torn from that now, because education began to represent being able to speak English or write in Arabic or that kind of things there. And so it's about it's the process of applying our cosmology to government again, to social organization again, to science again, to technology again. That is going to help it in the same way that the Muslim community today celebrates the contributions of Arabic to mathematics. You see what I'm saying? And these kinds of things today. We have to be able to begin again to do that with regards to indigenous African spiritual systems and cultures in that way. And I feel like once we do that, what we see in terms of the inbuilt degradation and the attempt or the door opening for charlatans to come in and take advantage of the spiritual system, I think that will take care of itself once there's a serious investment in the restoration of the dignity of the system.
I hope so. I look forward to that because I think it will be integral to Africans restoring their self-confidence. I think so. And that's why it was so important for me to better understand from the Korean man how they are managing this. Because I was alarmed in the early days when I heard, why are these people en masse converting to Protestantism? What's it doing for them? Will it not cause them to become an anomaly in that sub-region of Japan, China, and the Korea? Will it not cause this to occur? And he said to me, no, it seems to be working. And I said, look, I hope that because Africa's history was different, Africa's encounter with the West was different, and Africa's encounters with the Arab world was different, the way it dramatizes Islam and Christianity, likewise, will not be the same as Korea adopting.
I think that's the strength of Christianity, is because Christianity comes into a culture, it doesn't take away the culture of the people. So they write it.
It stopped doing that recently. It used to do it.
Yeah, it used to do it. I'm just saying to you, like
now they'll translate the Bible into the local language.
Yes,
but it never should have before.
What I'm saying is in comparison with Islam. I'm just saying in comparison with Islam. So it tends to blend. It still takes away, but it tends to blend better because I can.
That's
read the
very
Bible.
Recent.
Okay.
That's
maybe.
very recent.
Can you
That's very recent. And historically, Islam.
Yeah, because there's Bible in Arabic.
It's patchy, huh?
Do you understand?
Well, I want you to speak to that person. You know what you mean?
It's been a beautiful conversation.
Always a lovely pleasure to talk to you, man.
I respect you immensely.
Never
be in doubt about that.
Nah, the respect is mutual. I know this, man. I do. Listen, we'll talk more, yeah? And keep rocking right. Right, we're doing it right, yeah? Yes, my brother. Listen.
I learned a lot. Thank you so much.
It's lovely speaking to you. I like speaking to you young people, man. It's always a pleasure.
Before you go,
I can't speak to somebody from my crib.
Okay. Oh, sorry. All right, brother.
Yeah, oh yes, I think we're all done here. Thank you. Can't take away everything from your melody.
Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen.
Bro, thank you, innit? Yeah?
Okay. Oh no, they're pretty eating yet. They're pretty eating yet.
You fucking bastard. Okay, I'll give you one.
Yeah, you sure?
More feelings.
Well educated.
Hey, you better pay me some.
Did you say that? Yeah.
There's a lot of Jamaican, a lot of smart people who aren't.
Okay, we're about to start now. We're about to start, and it's gonna be all about balls now.
All about balls.
Okay. Did you hear? We're about